Waffles with maple syrup. The waffle iron was patented in America in 1869, and Belgian waffles were introduced to American audiences at the 1964 World's Fair by a Belgian named Walter Kleiman. Americans adopted them immediately and made them larger, thicker, and sweeter than the original. Pure maple syrup comes exclusively from the sap of sugar maple trees, tapped in late winter when temperatures fluctuate above and below freezing. Canada produces 71% of the world's maple syrup. Vermont produces most of the American supply. A Belgian waffle tradition combined with Canadian tree sap became the defining American diner breakfast.
Biscuits and gravy. Biscuits and gravy is a dish almost entirely unknown outside the American South and Midwest. The biscuits are not the hard, sweet cookies known by that name in Britain, but soft, flaky, leavened rolls. The gravy is a thick white sauce made from pork sausage drippings, flour, and milk. The dish became widespread in the American South after the Civil War, when cheap cuts of pork and flour were among the only affordable ingredients. It costs under $2 to make at home. Restaurants charge $12. The markup on biscuits and gravy is one of the highest in American breakfast dining. Loaded breakfast skillet. The breakfast skillet did not exist on American diner menus before the 1980s. It was invented by chain restaurants looking for a way to serve more ingredients in a single dish at a higher price point. Hash browns on the bottom, eggs on top, bacon, sausage, peppers, onions, and cheese layered in a cast iron skillet that arrives at the table still sizzling. The cast iron retains heat long enough that the last bite is as warm as the first. A restaurant industry pricing strategy accidentally produced one of the most satisfying breakfast formats in American diner culture.
Club sandwich. The club sandwich was invented at a private gambling club in Saratoga Springs, New York, in the late 1800s. The exact origin is disputed, but the format is not. 2 layers of toasted bread with turkey, bacon, lettuce, tomato, and mayonnaise, held together with toothpicks and cut into triangles. The toothpick is structural, not decorative. Without it, the second layer of bread slides immediately. The club sandwich became the default hotel room service sandwich across America because it photographs well, travels well, and requires no utensils. A gambling club snack became the defining American hotel food experience for over a century. Western omelet. The Western omelet is also called a Denver omelet. It contains ham, green pepper, onion, and cheese. Its origin is disputed between Denver, Colorado, and the American West broadly, with some food historians suggesting it developed as a way to mask the taste of poor-quality eggs on cattle drives by adding strong flavors. The Denver Chamber of Commerce claims it officially. Food historians remain unconvinced. The Western omelet became a diner staple because the ingredients are inexpensive, the preparation is fast, and the combination of ham and pepper produces a result that works at any hour. American diners have served it continuously since the early 20th century.
Tuna melt. The tuna melt is canned tuna mixed with mayonnaise, placed on bread with cheese and grilled until the cheese melts. It became a diner staple in the mid-20th century when canned tuna became affordable and widespread. The combination of cold tuna salad warmed against melted cheese creates a temperature contrast that neither ingredient produces independently. Patty melts and tuna melts share the same griddled format but entirely different identities. Tuna melt customers are intensely loyal to specific preparations. The ratio of tuna to mayonnaise is a personal matter that diner cooks learn not to debate with regulars.
Fluffy buttermilk pancakes.
Pancakes are one of the oldest foods in human history, with evidence of flat-grain cakes cooked on hot stones going back over 30,000 years. The American version, thick and fluffy, uses baking powder to create the rise. In 1889, Aunt Jemima became the first ready-mix pancake product ever sold, completely changing how Americans cooked breakfast at home. The world record for the most pancakes eaten in one sitting is 113. The REUBEN. The REUBEN is corned beef, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, and Russian dressing grilled between rye bread until the cheese melts and the bread crisps. Its origin is disputed between a Nebraska grocer named Reuben Kulikowski in the 1920s and a New York deli owner named Arnold Reuben decades earlier. Both stories involve a late-night card game and a hungry player who wanted something substantial. The combination of hot meat, melted cheese, tangy sauerkraut, and crisp grilled rye creates a sandwich that requires a fork despite being a sandwich. Every Jewish deli in America serves a version. None of them agree on who deserves cred for inventing it.
Mozzarella sticks. Mozzarella sticks were invented in American restaurants in the 1970s as appetizers specifically designed to be ordered while waiting for the main course. The concept of breading cheese and deep frying it produces a result where the exterior sets before the interior fully melts, creating the cheese pull effect that became the defining visual of the dish. PGI Fridays standardized the format nationally in the 1980s and distributed the recipe to their entire chain simultaneously. The cheese pull became a marketing tool before social media existed. Advertisements showing mozzarella sticks being pulled apart were among the most effective food advertisements of the 1980s. A stretching cheese visual sold more appetizers than any flavor description could.
Smash burger. The smash burger is not a burger that was accidentally flattened. It is a burger that was intentionally destroyed, and that destruction is the entire point. A ball of ground beef is pressed hard onto a screaming hot griddle, maximizing the surface area in contact with the metal. The Maillard reaction activates across the entire face of the patty. The result is more crust per bite than any thick patty can produce. Smash burgers existed at diners for decades before food media decided to call them a trend in the 2010s. The cooks who made them first never had a name for the technique, they just knew it worked. Philly cheesesteak. The Philly cheesesteak was invented in 1930 by Pat Olivieri, a hot dog vendor in South Philadelphia who threw beef scraps on his grill one afternoon and put them in a bread roll. A cab driver smelled it, asked for one, and told him to sell that instead. Pat did. The cheese came later. The correct cheese is Cheese Whiz, not provolone, not American. Locals will tell you this immediately and with conviction. The roll must be from Amorosa's Bakery. The beef must be shaved thin. Every cheesesteak sold outside Philadelphia is an approximation. Some are good, none are correct. Classic meatloaf. Every American family has a meatloaf recipe. No two are identical. Ground beef, breadcrumbs, egg, and whatever the family adds. Worcestershire, bell pepper, ketchup on top, brown sugar, a layer of bacon. The dish became standardized during the Great Depression when stretching meat with fillers was not a choice but a necessity. Home economists publish meatloaf recipes in government pamphlets to teach families how to feed more people with less beef. The ketchup glaze on top became nearly universal because it was cheap, sweet, and caramelized beautifully in a home oven. Depression-era survival food became one of the most searched comfort meal recipes in the English-speaking world every single winter. French toast. French toast has nothing to do with France. The earliest known recipe appears in a Roman cookbook from the 4th century called Apicius, which describes bread soaked in milk and egg, then fried in oil. Medieval Europeans called it pain perdu in French, meaning lost bread, because it was a way to use stale bread that would otherwise be thrown away. The name French toast appeared in print in America in 1871 and stuck, even though the dish predates France as a country. Classic cherry pie. Cherry pie is so American that the phrase American as apple pie is factually incorrect. Cherry pie predates apple pie in American culinary history and was considered the more patriotic dessert until apple pie marketing campaigns in the 20th century reversed the association. George Washington's famous cherry tree story, almost certainly invented by biographer Mason Locke Weems in 1806, created a cultural connection between Washington, cherries, and American honesty that influenced dessert preferences for generations. Washington almost certainly never said he could not tell a lie about a cherry tree. The cherry pie on American Thanksgiving tables is older than the myth that inspired it. Banana split. The banana split was invented in 1904 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania by a 23-year-old apprentice pharmacist named David Strickler, who placed 3 scoops of ice cream between his split banana and added toppings. Drugstore soda fountains were the social centers of early 20th century American towns. Strickler charged 10 cents, twice the price of a regular sundae. Customers paid it. the format spread nationally within years. Walgreens adopted it and distributed it across their soda fountain chain. A Pennsylvania pharmacy apprentice's ice cream construction became one of the most recognized American dessert formats. Latrobe, Pennsylvania celebrates Banana Split Festival annually. David Strickler never patented anything.
Eggs Benedict. Eggs Benedict was created in New York City in the 1890s. The most common story credits a Wall Street broker named Lemuel Benedict, who ordered buttered toast, bacon, poached eggs, and hollandaise sauce at the Waldorf Hotel after a night of heavy drinking. The maitre d' liked it so much he put it on the menu. Hollandaise, the rich butter and egg yolk sauce poured over the top, is one of the 5 classic French mother sauces and one of the most difficult to make without it breaking.
Chicken fried steak. Chicken fried steak contains no chicken. It is a beef steak, typically a tenderized round steak, breaded and fried exactly like fried chicken, which is where the name comes from. The technique arrived in Texas with German and Austrian immigrants in the 19th century who applied their schnitzel method to beef, because beef was what Texas had in abundance. Texas adopted it so completely that chicken fried steak became the unofficial state dish, served at every diner with white gravy and mashed potatoes. A German immigrant's pork technique applied to Texas beef produced a dish so Texan that Germany has never received any credit for it.
Hash browns.
Hash browns were invented in the northeastern United States in the late 1800s as a way to use leftover boiled potatoes. The name comes from the French word hacher, meaning to chop. McDonald's introduced its hash brown patty in 1977, and it became one of the most recognized fast food items in the world. In Britain, a similar dish called bubble and squeak uses leftover cabbage and potato fried together. Switzerland has rosti, South Korea has gamjajang. Every culture that discovered the potato eventually figured out that frying leftover potato pieces was one of the best ideas available. Breakfast burrito. The breakfast burrito was invented in Santa Fe, New Mexico in 1975 at a restaurant called Tia Sofia's, which still exists today and still serves the original version. It took a flour tortilla and filled it with scrambled eggs, bacon, potatoes, and green chili. McDonald's introduced its version in 1991 and helped bring the breakfast burrito to every corner of the United States. It is now one of the most ordered breakfast items at fast food chains across America, Britain, and Australia.
Mac and cheese. Macaroni and cheese is the most consumed comfort food in the United States, and its origin is disputed between Thomas Jefferson and an enslaved cook named James Hemings, who traveled with Jefferson to France and learned French pasta techniques. Jefferson brought a pasta machine back from Europe and served macaroni and cheese at a White House dinner in 1802. Kraft introduced the boxed version in 1937 during the Great Depression and sold 8 million boxes in the first year. Americans now buy over 1 million boxes of Kraft mac and cheese every single day. A dish served at the White House in 1802 became a Depression-era survival food that turned into the most purchased boxed product in American grocery history.
Elvis sandwich. Elvis Presley ate a fried peanut butter, banana, and bacon sandwich at Graceland on a near-daily basis, according to his personal cook. The sandwich was reportedly introduced to him by a restaurant in Denver called the Colorado Gold Mine Company, which served a version that Elvis flew to Colorado specifically to eat. He then had his cook replicate it at Graceland. The combination of hot fried bread, melted peanut butter, warm banana, and salty bacon activates every major flavor receptor simultaneously. A sandwich eaten obsessively by one man in Memphis became so culturally associated with him that it carries his name 50 years after his death.
Bagel with cream cheese. The bagel originated in Jewish communities in Poland in the 17th century and was brought to New York by Eastern European Jewish immigrants in the late 1800s. The defining characteristic of a real bagel is that it is boiled before baking, which creates the chewy, dense interior and shiny crust. New York bagel makers claim their bagels taste different because of the minerals in New York City tap water. Cream cheese was invented in New York in 1872 by a dairyman named William Lawrence, making the combination entirely a New York creation.
Pastrami sandwich. The New York pastrami sandwich is the product of Romanian Jewish immigration in the late 1800s. Pastrami is beef brisket, cured in spices for weeks, smoked, then steamed for hours until the fat renders completely into the meat. A proper New York deli pastrami sandwich contains nearly a pound of meat on rye bread, with mustard and nothing else. Adding mayo is considered an insult to the sandwich and to the deli. The combination of smoke, spice, and rendered fat produces a flavor that no other preparation of beef achieves. New York Jewish deli culture built its entire identity around this one sandwich, and the identity has outlasted most of the delis. Salisbury steak. Salisbury steak was invented by Dr. James Salisbury in 1888, who believed that Americans ate too many vegetables and that ground beef 3 times a day was the solution to most human illness. He was wrong about the medicine. He was accidentally right about the dinner. The dish, a seasoned beef patty smothered in brown onion gravy, became a staple of American TV dinners in the 1950s when frozen food companies needed something that survived freezing without becoming inedible. It did. Salisbury steak is now one of the most purchased frozen meals in the United States. A Victorian diet obsessive accidentally invented comfort food. Texas red chili. Chili con carne is the official state dish of Texas. Texans will tell you this proudly and then immediately tell you that real chili contains no beans. The bean question has divided American households for over a century and shows no signs of resolution. Chili originated on the Texas frontier in the 1800s, where it was sold by women known as chili queens from open-air stands in San Antonio. The dish was cheap, filling, and could be made in enormous quantities. Canned chili appeared in 1908. Chili cook-offs became a competitive sport. There are now sanctioned chili competitions with judges, rulebooks, and disqualifications. A frontier stew became a national argument.